morning. It's Ginny and Tim from the beautiful Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And
Yes.
we're at DSTech in Escanaba, and we're going to talk to you today about EOL.
Mm-hmm.
Another acronym for us. Isn't it great? Go to our website at dstech.net, sign up for our newsletter so that you know what we're going to talk about and whether you want to come watch. And plus, I'll send you all kinds of tips and stuff to help you with your productivity at work or whatever. So, and there's also security things, but I'll talk about that at the end.
Mm-hmm.
What is EOL and what are we talking about?
So EOL just stands for end of life. So what that
End of
usually means is that at a certain point in time, Microsoft or software vendors are not going to support their software. They want you to go to the new versions just because they can't keep supporting it forever. They have to move to the new versions as times are changing. So the most recent one that happened was the Windows 7 end of life, where everyone had to go to Windows 10.
Yeah.
And kind of force a lot of people to go to that to keep getting the security updates, things like that. Well, now the biggest one is that the Windows Server 2012 R2, which a lot of places might still be running, is going to be end of life basically in October of this year. Now, Microsoft did announce it in May that, hey, in October, we're not going to be doing any more security updates, all those different standard things that you normally would get. So what exactly is EOL? I keep talking security because that's like my wheelhouse. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
But also you also don't get like bug fixes or tech support. Like if you needed help and you're trying to migrate your server and you're running into problems, normally you might be able to reach out and create a ticket with Microsoft to help you along the way or the roadblocks you're seeing. But if it's not supported anymore, they're not going to help you. It's 100% on you.
What happens if the server dies?
Same thing. It's just you're kind of out with, it's out of warranty probably at the end. Same thing at end of life. And so all your data, they're not going to help you with any of that kind of recovery or different things like that because your data's on there. It's not supported.
So it's kind of like running my car, like my old Focus, for example. Mm-hmm. If it dies, I got to fix it.
Yes.
But
it's 100% on you to fix it, take care of any issues because it's not supported anymore. Now they do offer,
or they wouldn't be able to find parts anymore, right?
Yeah, sometimes if it's so old, the hardware itself, I'll get into that a little bit later, some options to kind of get you off that.
I'm just thinking about my car.
But yeah, there's because it's just the way the technology is moving. So they just, with their resources, they have to focus on Server 2016 and 2022, the new versions out there. So chances are if you got a new server in the last couple of years, it was already 2016 version. You don't have to worry about this. But this is more for those who bought it maybe, 5-6 years ago. That was still, they didn't want to get 2016 because it might have been too pricey. So they went 2012. And now it's getting to the point where 2012 is no longer supported. So
Got it.
So, the security updates is the biggest thing. You're not going to be getting those with the Windows updates that patch the things. There's hundreds of them every week that are coming out that hackers are finding ways into the systems, and then it's a constant whack-a-mole where then they'll fix the problems as they get found. And so that's always happening with your Windows updates. And the problem is once it's end of life, now they're not going to get any more of those updates. So any new hack that a hacker can find a way into that system is going to be there exposed for the remainder of it's just going to be a very insecure system, and you don't want to be running your actual business out of that anymore without the security updates. Now they do offer what they call extended security updates. It does come with a price. Windows 7 did this as well, where if you wanted to, like say all these Windows 7 systems and you really just couldn't afford to go to Windows 10 and everything right now, they allowed you to pay a certain price to get just the security updates. Now you didn't get the support, the tech support, and all those other non-security updates and bug fixes. It was just simply for the security fixes, so you could run it for like another year or so. But then at that point, all the money you're spending on that, now you could have technically invested into the new system. So again, it's only do it if you have to, and you're kind of strapped for the cash right now. Do the extended security updates just to kind of hold you over, and then plan to do the real big upgrade before that ends. So that way you can have your new systems in place.
I'm grinning because that's another acronym. When I look for that license, when people want to buy it, I type in ESU.
Yep. Everything's an acronym in computers, so for sure.
Sorry.
So that's what the extended security updates are available. If that's you, that is one option you could go down. Again, I would recommend against it unless you just utterly had to, because you're just kind of throwing money at a dead product at that point, just to kind of limp along till the new one. Where if you could properly plan and just migrate up, that would be the best option in my opinion. So then future-proofing migrations. So this is kind of the idea of why this is good to do before it's end of life as well, is the idea of when you go get a new mobile phone, whether you have a Samsung Galaxy or an iPhone or whatever it is, and you're going to a new one, it's usually like 2 or 3 versions behind, and they can easily take all of your data from your own phone and put it on the new one. It'll sync to the cloud, download all your contacts, your pictures. It's very easy to go from the old phone to the new one if you're within that version and it's still kind of supported through Apple or Verizon or whoever you got.
Or Google.
Whoever you got.
When I upgraded mine, I mean, literally, you could just plug in the cable from one phone to the other.
Right, and it just works really easily, right? Now,
So
the problem
easy.
is if you had a phone that's no longer supported, like say you got an iPhone 4, out of the drawer from someone, and you're like, I want to put all this data onto my new iPhone. Good luck. It's not going to be very seamless. Plug the cable in and moving. The same holds true for your servers, right? Right now, it's still supported. If you want to go to 2022, 2016 server, we can take all the data on your server, and it makes it very easy. Microsoft will help you migrating that onto the new server. If you waited 2-3 more years from now, it might not be so easy because you're going to run into that problem where it's not supported anymore. So you might have to do your own manual work to get it on there. It's going to be more difficult and harder to get onto the new everything onto the new. So you're better to do it while it's being supported, while it's actively being taken care of through the manufacturers. It'll just make migrating so much easier if you do it before it's end of life. So yeah, that's the same for the servers with that. Now, some of the different options you can have as far as going with new servers if you needed to, depends what your server was doing. If you were running actual customer data, SQL databases, file servers, all that kind of stuff, you probably will still need another physical server. At that point, obviously just buying a new server, getting the latest 2022 on it, all that kind of stuff, and migrating your data is the best option for you there if you can budget it and plan for that. The other option would be is if you're simply using it for, say, a file server, you're just sharing a little bit of, like, say, Excel documents between staff members, and all you're using it is for your domain controller, which is, basically for like your Active Directory, like the phone book of who's allowed to log into the computer systems at work. That you can actually move to the cloud now. It's called Azure Active Directory. So what it is the phone book that normally is on your computer that allows your staffs to log in with their password. It's just a glorified phone book that's kind of controlling everything. You can move that to the cloud now, and so you don't even need that physical server anymore, and you can control it all through the Microsoft 365 web portal and then manage all your staff logins that way. So you don't even need the physical server to do that anymore. And that's where they do the Azure migrations. You may hear that term. That's what it is you're no longer having to have a computer physically there to do it. It's in the cloud.
Server in the cloud.
And the same thing is with your SharePoint now and your data. So then if you could take, if it was simply a file server, that's all you were doing with it. You weren't running like some specialized software on your server, that kind of thing.
Unless the specialized software has a cloud version.
The software vendor may have a cloud option for you as well. Obviously, look into that. It varies from the software vendor.
I can't speak
to them all. But as far as if you just are simply sharing your files and you're using it for your user logins, move that stuff to the cloud, and now you don't even have to have that physical software there server there anymore. Everything's off on the cloud, and then it makes remote work easier too, because we're Azure joined here internally. So when I go home and I'm working on my home issued computer from DSTech, I log in with the same credentials as in the office, and my desktop, my documents, my downloads, everything is mirrored. It may take a few more minutes to download any new data if I haven't worked from home in a while to get it to sync, but realistically, it makes working remote and in the office so much easier if you get on that Azure join, because your desktop and everything just follows you everywhere. It's very kind of neat.
I'm kind of thinking everything is in the cloud on my desktop because I just plug it in and go. There's like no.
And usually the OneDrive will sync your desktop, your documents, your downloads, the standard spots that 90% of your stuff is saved anyway. So then that'll sync over real easily between it. The last option, if you're not getting a completely new server or moving to the cloud, is you could potentially, depending on the hardware of your server, upgrade the existing one to be compatible. But with that, again, it's like the car analogy. It's like, can my car handle a 300 horse engine or whatever it is and upgrade? Well, maybe you can by doing some extra parts. You might have to do some swizzling and get some extra things in there to get it to work. But then it's kind of a hodgepodge where it might not be as good in 5 years down the road as if you were to just get that new server right off the bat. So again,
nickel and dime you forever.
Yeah. So that third option, I really kind of recommend to get against it. But maybe you did just buy a new server like 2 or 3 years ago. It hasn't been that old. For whatever reason, you put server 2012 on it. Maybe you can upgrade your server to be compatible and check that stuff. But it all just kind of depends on the hardware. My advice is if you're going to the new version of the OS and everything, and if you have the means, get the new hardware. Just that way, everything's covered with the warranty. You'd be good to go. And
not only that, but it just seems like I don't think we recommend upgrading things very often anymore.
No, that's kind of an older break fix mentality. When like your hard drive would break on your computer, you might get a new hard drive. But now it's like by the time you pay someone to take the hard drive out, transfer the data, put it back in your computer and everything, that's half the price of a new computer. Now, unless you needed that data for whatever reason, if the hard drive goes and you don't have any sensitive data stored on there because you've been using the server shares at the cloud like you should, wipe and reload or put a new, it all just,
It's
that's
just
kind of
easier.
It's easier, more time efficient for businesses now with the cost of hardware coming down and the time that you save too.
Yeah, because the time costs more.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's pretty much the biggest thing, is just kind of putting it out there that if you have a Windows Server 2012 out there, just be aware that starting in October, it's not going to be supported anymore officially for Microsoft. So you're going to need to, at the bare minimum, get your extended security updates on that thing, and then worry about planning your migration, whether it be to the cloud or getting a new hardware, a new server to kind of migrate everything over to.
So if it's EOL, get your ESU or upgrade it.
Yes. Yep.
Or something. I couldn't think of an acronym for the third part.
Yeah. And obviously, if you want help with that, reach out to DSTech. As your partner, we can help you walk through the steps, help
Absolutely.
you price out the new hardware, kind of send you some, quotes and all that kind of stuff, get you prepared for that. So that way, when the time comes, it's not going to completely blindside you. And I know we've been working through a lot of our existing customers already on it. We're well aware of this, and we're making game plans for it. But if this, you're curious about it, reach out, and we'll do our best to help you.
Absolutely. So go to our website too and fill out the form for your free security assessment. That's what I was going to say earlier. And then, of course, our newsletter, so that you get all of the latest, greatest news from DSTech. All right. Make it a great day. We'll see you next time.